Today we continue our journey through the timeless words of the prayer of St. Francis. Last week we reflected on "Make me an instrument of thy peace." Now we arrive at the next heartfelt invocation. "Where there is hatred, let me sow love." What a profound challenge. When we're confronted with hatred, the prayer doesn't ask us to retaliate. It asks us to plant seeds of love. And so that's what we seek to do. Not to resist the darkness with more darkness, but to bring the light. That's not easy. Our instinct is to fight or to flee or to freeze. But bringing light, that's another thing. Our instinct is often to fight fire with fire. But as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. reminded us, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. When we walk into a dark room, we don't curse it. We flip on the switch. Likewise, when we encounter hatred, our calling is not to echo it, but to illuminate it with compassion and love. St. Francis reminds us it's better to give than to receive. Not just gifts, but compassion, love, understanding. St. Francis was an example of that. His words, "Let me sow love where there's hatred," are keys for living. Hatred may be handed to us, but we don't have to return it. We can be the ones to break the cycle. But we got to understand, what is the root of hate? Sometimes we ask, why is this person doing this? Why are they so hateful? Why are they full of rage? You ever wonder that? The late Dr. Wayne Dyer offered a simple truth. He said, people who hate feel hated. People who hate feel hated. If someone spills hate, we're called to respond with love, because hate and pain lives inside of them. They feel hated. Jesus understood this from the cross. He said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." He understood that people felt hated. Crucified by ignorance, he didn't retaliate. He forgave, not out of weakness, but out of divine strength. There was a tennis match, and it was they had pairs on each side, and they were playing a couples thing. And one of the guys on the other side became irate. He started to yell across the court at one of the players. He said, "You're cheating." He was expressing all this hate. And his partner calmly said, "Hey, Tim, win or lose, we love you." And Tim took a deep breath and he relaxed and he said, "I'm sorry, I lost it. I lost it." In the face of his anger, they were able to respond with love. That's what Jesus meant. One expression of grace can disarm that world of anger. Why choose love in the face of hate? Why would we want to do that? Because hate is corrosive to us. Hate damages the body. It damages the soul. It damages so much of us. It damages relationships. Medical research confirms chronic anger increases heart disease, suppresses immunity, and steals our joy. Hate burns from the inside out. And there's a risk. I was with a friend here, not far away actually. we were walking through the city, and a car got close. I forget exactly what they did, but my friend kind of lost it. And she started from in the street shouting at the driver. I said to her, "Don't do that. You don't know what they're capable of." Right? They can run you over. You don't know. Don't do that. Too often, rage escalates. People have lost their lives over a look, a word, a mistake. Sometimes wisdom looks like restraint. I'm reminded of Fred, who was at the pearly gates, and there was an angel with a clipboard interviewing people to see if, did they earn their way into heaven or not. They wanted to know, what kind act have you done? And they came to Fred and said, "Fred, tell us, why should we let you in the pearly gates? What kind act have you done?" Fred said, "Oh, I can tell you something that happened. One day I was walking down the street, I saw this motorcycle gang slapping this old lady around. So I went over and I kicked over one of the motorcycles to distract their attention. Guy came over to me, I gave him a shot right to the gut, and I told the old lady to run." The angel was impressed. "Wow, Fred, that's amazing. So when did that happen?" Fred said, "Oh, about 30 seconds ago." Got to watch out. There's a risk. You got to acknowledge his honor, though, right? Fighting for that old lady. Also, we reap what we sow, right? You reap what you sow. Every action is a seed. When we sow hatred, we grow more hatred. We tend to respond more with more hatred in the future. It becomes more a part of us, and the same is true of love. Jesus said, "Love your enemies that you may be children of God." Why do we love our enemies? It's not because of something that happens after we die. It's because of something that happens now. When we love, we allow our true nature, our true essence to express. We don't want to turn out the light from within us. We want to keep the light on. When we hate, it lowers us, right? So Jesus was telling us it's for your own good. Do it for your own spiritual growth. But we've got to start where we are. What if you don't feel like you can respond with love? What if you just can't forgive? What if you're hurt and really angry and you don't feel like you can love the person? Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Well, start where you are. Start where maybe you can do something small. Don't react. Walk away. Be silent, perhaps. Start where you are. Even that is sowing peace. The Dalai Lama I've shared recently said, "Practice warm-heartedness." He said, "Practice warm-heartedness." He didn't say be warm-hearted. He said, "Practice warm-heartedness." We've got to practice it. There's a principle called act as if principle, which is fake it even if you don't feel it, right? You may want to strangle the person, but you do your best to take, what can I do? What is the next most loving thing that I can do? Maybe it's not to strangle the person. What can I do? Maybe I can't do what Jesus would do or St. Francis is doing right away. Maybe I can't stand there and just return with kind words. But what can I do? What can I do? You can take a deep breath. You can walk away. You can leave the room if necessary. And maybe you can go further. Maybe you can respond with peace. Maybe you can respond with a kind word, even though you may not feel it. Just like the guy did in the tennis match. Practice warm-heartedness. Dr. Judson Brewer, a psychiatrist, used to bike to the hospital. And while he was biking to the hospital, he often got yelled at by drivers. and cursed at. And what did Dr. Brewer do, the psychiatrist? He yelled back. And he gave the universal signal with his hand. And then he would get to work drained, tense. And then he decided he was going to try to choose a different response. He started to practice a prayer of kindness. And he would say to himself when the cars were honking their horns, "May I be happy, and may you be happy." That's his new response that he started to choose. It's not that he felt it in the moment, but he chose that response. May I be happy, and may you be happy. And he said a shift happened. When I got to the hospital, I felt lighter. My heart was more open. I felt more expansive. I felt more joyful. We've got to start where we are. And we can act as if to shift something. Dr. Judson's brain, once wired for fight, learned a new path. So can ours. But it's important to sow love for yourself first. We can only give what we have, right? That's all you can do. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. What do you have for yourself? You can love your neighbor only with what you have for yourself. When you make a mistake, how do you respond? Do you hold yourself up to a level of perfection that you got to do everything just right? Do you feel like you can't make a mistake? Or when you do you get all upset with yourself? I say be easier with yourself. Many people believe they've got to criticize themselves to grow. I remember in my own life, I remember wondering, how do you grow if you don't criticize yourself? I really had no idea. How can I grow if I don't criticize myself? Where will be the motivation to grow? And then I came to understand and learn, no, you can love yourself and grow. Because the truth is, you are a whole spiritual being already. Just like the oak is in the acorn, with some sunshine and rain, that oak tree is going to grow. You and I are created in the image and likeness of God, the Christ within. With the right nurturing and encouragement, you're going to grow. Doesn't mean ignore mistakes. No, learn from them. Learn from them. Forgive if necessary. And then move forward. No need to beat up on ourselves. In fact, it may be that our brain, if we beat up on ourselves, will repeat it again because we've ingrained it with so much emotion. In the gospel, a woman was caught in adultery and she was brought before Jesus. The law said she should be stoned. And Jesus said, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. And of course, they all dropped their stones and walked away. And Jesus said, who condemns you? And she said, no one. And he said, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Now that flies in the face of a religion that believes that you can be condemned to hell forever, doesn't it? He said, go and sin no more. In other words, you make a mistake, learn from it, and do your best. That's all. Do your best. No need to condemn ourselves. St. Francis once said, I have been all things unholy. Wow, St. Francis. If he could say that, surely we could give ourselves a little grace also. There's an amazing little book called Small Miracles of the Holocaust, and one story stands out. Rabbi Shlomo Carlbeck was on an airplane, on a flight, and he met a young woman on the flight. She had converted to Judaism and had fallen in love. But her partner's Jewish parents opposed the marriage because she had been born Christian. Rabbi Shlomo, encouraged by the young woman, called the young man's father, only to be met with rage. "I'm a Holocaust survivor. I hate religion. If my son marries a non-Jew, I'll kill him." But then something remarkable happened. He called the woman's father, and the father, teary-eyed, revealed to the rabbi a secret. He said, "We're Jews also. After the Holocaust, we lost our faith. We've pretended to be Christian ever since." Well, the rabbi got the families together. And when the two fathers met, they turned pale. Herschel? Yankel? They had been childhood best friends. Each thought the other had died in the Holocaust. And long ago, they had even pledged to betroth their children. "It seems," one of them said, "that even though we forgot our promise, God didn't. Where there is hatred, let us sow love." And as we acknowledge Memorial Day this weekend, let's remember the profound cost of hatred and the ultimate sacrifices made by those who stood for peace, freedom, and justice. Memorial Day is not only a time to honor the fallen, it's a time to ask ourselves, what are we doing to make their sacrifice worth it? They gave their lives in service. Let us give our lives, our hearts, in healing. Let us be instruments of peace in a world still struggling with division and hate. So today and every day, let this be our prayer. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Not because it's easy, but because it's powerful. Because it's healing, because it's divine. Let us turn on the light. Let's get still. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for these words from St. Francis' prayer, these timeless words so much needed in our personal lives and in the world today. With the many things that we see and experience around us, we remember the true journey, the journey of waking up to who we are as spiritual beings. We remember the truth that I am God living itself as me, that I am a being of peace, a being of love, a being of joy. And so I aspire to live according to the truth of who I am. Where there is hatred, Lord, let me sow love. And so it is. Amen.